We've all had times in our lives when we've given into a temptation, given into a bad habit, and ended up regretting that down the line. Whether it was scrolling on social media for a few hours, or smoking a cigarette, or drinking one too many drinks. Whatever it was, we all have certain coping mechanisms that we developed growing up. And at those times, maybe we needed some distraction from the turmoil that was going on inside of us, inside of our psyche. So how do we overcome the temptation to fall back into those old comfortable patterns, which at one point may have served us, but we've outgrown now? The thing is, that piece of you is still a part of your psyche. it's it's been a part of who you are. It's something that your consciousness attached onto. So there's a level of resistance to letting go of that completely. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Over the course of these past few weeks, I've had some very difficult personal circumstances in my life. And that's caused me to backslide into some old patterns. I started smoking cigarettes and smoking weed for like a week and a half, and was just on YouTube and binge watching a lot of stuff and not moving forward. I actually haven't recorded a video in a few weeks. The videos I've uploaded the past couple weeks have kind of been in my backlog, so I was still able to upload that for you. But yeah, I fell into some old patterns and I broke my commitments to myself. And, that's all going to happen. That's going to happen to every one of us, I feel like, at one point to another at a lower or larger degree. And this has happened to me in the past. There was times in the past where I fell into this pattern for a month or two of just really not being the person I want to be and moving things forward in the right way. But thankfully this time, I was able to catch myself. And I feel like each time this has happened, I've been able to see more clearly the contrast between when I'm living on my purpose, when I'm, just reading books, recording YouTube videos, writing my newsletters, and I've still been doing that a little bit these past couple of weeks, but I haven't been as on purpose as I could have been. And I've seen the contrast between that and then when I allow myself to slip, into old coping mechanisms. Maybe at one point they serve me as an escape from just being in that depressed state of the psyche. But I'm now mature enough and I know enough and I have enough resources and skills that I'm able to sit with myself and sit with my emotions instead of going out into all these various, trying to attach my consciousness to just zone out and not deal with things. We're more mature than that now, and it's time that we deal with all the repressed emotions in our psyche and anything that's going on recently, that we develop more healthy coping mechanisms. And I want to explain to you how to do that today. So, first things first, if you have fallen back into some old patterns, if you've broken a commitment to yourself, don't beat yourself up about it anymore. Just pick yourself right back up. My friend told me something the other day that really stuck with me, which is that sometimes you just have to act your way out of how you're feeling. Oftentimes we feel like, okay, I'm going to start my business, or I'm going to change my habits, or I'm going to do this thing I've been putting off when I feel right, when I feel the inspiration and feel the motivation, and when I don't feel depressed anymore. And I've been feeling depressed, these past few days and week, guys, but just getting out here and recording another YouTube video, getting back on my mission has made me feel just so much better. And so sometimes we just have to act our way out of how we're feeling and just being the person we want to be, and putting one foot in front of the other towards those actions is going to be what solves your issue. And something else I want to talk about is not running away from your emotions and letting yourself feel that. throughout the course of our lives, we've had certain traumas, and these coping mechanisms of escaping into social media and TV and drugs and alcohol, that's how we coped, or whatever it is for you. We all developed our certain coping mechanisms that maybe they were unhealthy, maybe it's overeating, emotional eating, whatever the case may be. We developed that to have an escape, but if we're ever really going to sort out the issue, we just got to feel that and we got to work through it. And so actually something I did the other day was I just spent 15 minutes just really grieving, just crying, just screaming into a pillow, just releasing all the sadness and the anger that was inside of me. And I think that's something I'm going to continue to do on a daily basis. And actually, I got this from a TV show called Shrinking. The therapist Paul tells his colleague to spend 15 minutes a day really grieving hard. He tells him to put on sad music, set a timer for 15 minutes, and really just cry and grieve. And for me, I kind of took that into just feel any emotions you need to feel. Cry or scream into a pillow, express the anger and sadness inside you, because what happens is when we're growing up in this society, we're taught that these emotions aren't okay. If you're a male, you're kind of taught just through your parents or through society that it's not okay to cry, that no, you need to be a man and just bottle that emotion up and not express it. That's really not healthy. That's not what we should be teaching our children to do, because it's going to cause problems down the line. And I think for all of us, we're also kind of taught to repress that anger, that it's not okay to show that anger, especially if you're a woman. It's not okay to express that anger. So that gets stored inside of us, and it takes a toll when we bottle up those emotions, even to the point of creating tensions inside of your body. When you feel angry, instead of letting that out, maybe you tense your shoulders and you just build that tension inside of your body, right? And that can build up over time and lead to a lot of pain. So it's important that we find ways to let this out. So yeah, I mean, I recommend, I got that from a TV show, but I tried it and I felt like a whole lot better after I did that, and kind of just really felt everything that I was moving away from the past couple weeks. If we just develop the ability to, whenever we're feeling something, just sit with that and really deal with it. The heart and the mind knows how to cleanse itself, but when we run away from the pain, it gets stored within and it causes neurosis. So yeah, just don't run away from it. Let yourself fully feel into it and process it, and then you'll be able to let that go and it won't impact you anymore. But I want to go back to, the temptations for a little bit. Like, if you're really feeling overwhelmed and you feel the pull to go to that temptation, what can you do? One thing that really helped me is just sort of fighting against that impulse, or just saying no right when it comes up. Because sometimes, okay, let's take the example, I want to go smoke a cigarette. That impulse comes up and I don't do it right away, but it's still just kind of lingering in the back of my mind, that pull to go do it. Instead of even considering that option, just say, no, I'm not going to do it. Your willpower is stronger than any negative temptation or desire. You have the ability to just set that boundary for yourself and just say, no, I'm not going to do this, because that's not who I want to be anymore. That's not who I am. But it can be very difficult and painful, because these coping mechanisms, they were deep, especially if they came from childhood. They're deeply ingrained within our psyche, so it's almost like a part of you is dying when you let that go. Realistically, letting these coping mechanisms go, being dependent on a substance or a certain activity or a certain frame of mind to feel okay within yourself, letting go of that is very liberating. But at first, it can feel like you're losing something, and it can be very painful. And that's something I've been experiencing just these past few days, because I think I've really acknowledged within myself that I'm not going to let myself engage in these coping mechanisms anymore, even when things get really difficult, even when there's a lot of emotion coming up. I'm just not going to do it, because I've seen that contrast, and I just know that that's not the route I'm going to go down anymore. That's not where I want to go, and I can't do that. If I want to be here providing value for you, I have to be the embodiment of what I'm teaching. I have to, if I'm going to encourage other people to go sober and to let go of their habits, I can't be the hypocritical person that's going and doing these things. I mean, it's also important that I can be vulnerable and show up and show you what I'm dealing with. And that also, if you're considering, stepping out and helping other people, you don't have to be perfect to be able to do that. I know, and I started doubting myself a little bit, but I know I still have a lot of value to bring, and that all the work I've put in on myself over the past few years, that doesn't get erased just because I slipped up once. I can still pick myself back up and keep moving forward and help a lot of people with what I'm doing, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But like, letting go of these old patterns, even just old attitudes, old identities of, oh, I thought I was this type of person. You know how this applies to your own life. I feel like you can apply this how it fits for you. But there's going to be a grieving process sometimes that comes along with that, like grieving your old self, grieving the loss of, or maybe you just changed jobs, you lost your partner, you lost something in your life. There's going to be a grief that comes along with that, but there's also going to be a grief that comes along with losing the old version of you, because that was like a pattern in your psyche that you've become attached to. So allow yourself to grieve that, but don't fall into it for too long. Still act your way through that. Take the actions that the highest version of yourself would take on a daily basis, and build that momentum. Build that momentum for that new, more positive self-image. And then lastly, I want to talk about, it can be really difficult. Some of these patterns can be really strong within our psyche, that we're fighting against it, but somehow it keeps on drawing us back. And how can we deal with that? First of all, just do your best and just pick yourself right back up every time. And really try to make that strong commitment to yourself that, no, I'm just not doing this anymore, and exert your willpower in a different direction. If you feel like going back to that old pattern, go work on a creative project, go sit out in nature. Basically just apply your energy and your focus in a different direction as soon as possible. That can be something that really helps. But even more so than that, to really dissolve these samskaras, these complexes, these karmic patterns within us, meditation is the best tool you have. And for those of you that meditate or practice yoga, I have a sort of technique that I can recommend if you really want to start to dissolve this stuff. What you can do is, when you get into a deep state of meditation, you've been meditating for 10, 20, 30 minutes, and you're really in a deep, peaceful state, and the mind's kind of shut down and a lot calmer. Draw that energy you're feeling inside of yourself. You can visualize yourself drawing the energy up the spinal column, all the way up into your brain, and then this energy spreads throughout your brain. And just hold and focus the energy there, and you should be able to kind of feel that energy moving throughout your brain. And this can literally change the pathways in your brain and change your brain structure over time to dissolve those patterns as you practice this technique. It's very powerful. So yeah, try to do that. And then also related to the tensions that get stored in the body through the various trauma, what you can do is also, if there's a specific area of the body that's really tense or that's hurting you, when you're in a deep state of meditation, or just sit down for a couple minutes and do this even, you can kind of focus your attention right on that area, try and send the energy within your body to that area, and then just tense and release 5 to 10 times. And what that's going to do is send the energy to that body, like really send the energy there, and then just relax it, and withdraw the energy. And that's really going to help that, you're sort of sending prana to that area, so that's going to help heal it and then relax it as you release that tension. Try those out if that sounds like something that resonates with you and that would be helpful for you. And then there was one more thing I wanted to touch on, actually, which is that, and I kind of already touched on it when I said that you kind of got to act your way out of depression. And what it is just being authentic. When you step into your authentic self, what your soul really wants to do, what you really want to do with your life, and you find your purpose and you start really applying yourself towards that, that's just going to make the temptation and the depression have so much less of a hold on your consciousness, because you're applying your focus in the right way for you, in the most authentic, meaningful way. And that's going to help you so much. And there's going to be resistance to that. It's very scary to, a lot of the time, to step into your higher self, to recognize that, oh wow, I really do have a lot of potential and I can make a difference in the world, or I can make a difference in the lives of the people around me, or I can make a big impact in a certain industry, whatever it is that your purpose is. When you realize that you have that potential inside of you, there can be a lot of resistance, because that old version of yourself doesn't feel ready. It still has doubts. It still has fear. But the love and light is always so much stronger than the fear. So just move forward and take that next step that you know that you need to take. Just keep on taking those steps, and before you know it, you'll have built up a lot of momentum toward the life you want to live. So I hope this message was useful for you. If you resonated with this, leave a like and subscribe. And I'm also now releasing a newsletter every week on Substack, and also just different posts throughout the week. So check the description if you're interested in that. And I got some exciting stuff on the way. I'm planning on starting a spiritual fellowship group very soon here, within the next month or two. So I'll keep you posted on that when it becomes available. So if you're watching this a couple months from now, check the description. There might be some resources there. And with that being said, I love you guys. I wish you the best, and you've got this. You're going to kill it. Just keep moving forward. Pick yourself right back up. Pour that love into yourself, and just go out there and make a difference. I'll see you on the next one.